sentence. Crypto is high risk, high volatility, and ... That was a tweet from CZ Binance, and in my opinion, the last section of that phrase should be high reward. Typically, from a financial investment background and sort of equity analysis, you would tend to say that the correlation between high risk and high volatility should be high reward in order to offset that high risk and high volatility. Interesting tweet there from CZ himself. Obviously, a lot of interesting replies to those comments. Of course, you need to make sure you're doing your own research, because that high volatility and that high risk could also mean a tendency to go towards zero. But we don't talk about meme projects on this channel. Looking at the fear and greed index, then we've shot all the way back up to a 42. Yesterday, we were at a 30, 12-point increase on this scale, and we are really heading back now towards bullish momentum territory, or more so neutral, then towards the bullish territory. Of course, I have still been DCAing, and hopefully a lot of you have been too. Bitcoin is now back at $23,000. Obviously, we saw highs of nearly $24,000 a couple of days back, and it's continuing to climb higher / sort of sideways throughout August, which leads back to that video I published at the beginning of August, looking at some different metrics that were indicating potentially August and September would be very good months for Bitcoin indeed. In terms of the relationship between Bitcoin and Ethereum, or the Bitcoin dominance charts, that's also still tracking at historical levels that we've seen for the last few months or so. But a lot of the altcoins throughout the spaces have been gaining momentum across the board. Projects like HEDERA and other layer ones that we talk about on this channel have been performing very well. The interoperability solutions like Chainlink and Quant in particular has been performing incredibly well recently. I've stopped averaging into that position at the moment, as my average is considerably lower than what the current price is, and I will look to see if there is a slight drawback in the price of Quant to then begin averaging further into that position. I do see a lot of upside potential for Quant, maybe worth taking some profits off the table if you guys do have some. Jumping across into some news then, billionaire investor Mark Cuban says purchasing land in the metaverse is the dumbest shit ever. Really interesting comment from him himself. If you literally Google him and crypto, he is an avid cryptocurrency investor, self-proclaimed Ethereum maximalist, and he also owns a few cryptocurrencies and non-fungible tokens, also known as NFTs, as well as being invested in several different blockchain companies. It's very strange for him to turn around and say that digital land is basically crazy shit, particularly when JP Morgan wants to bring trillions of dollars of tokenized assets to DeFi. And that's exactly what digital land effectively is. It is a tokenized asset in a digital space. It's basically just an NFT. And the fact that he already owns NFTs is pretty crazy indeed, particularly because majority of NFTs as we currently see it are just JPEGs. And then digital land is just a JPEG of some space on a map. So really, for him to say that it's crazy implies that he is also crazy for owning NFTs. Just my 2 cents worth on that, but it just goes to show, be very careful about the information and the headline tweets that you say from different people around the space. People obviously have their own opinions, and a lot of the time, unfortunately, these very popular A-list sort of celebrities in the space do have conflicting opinions with themselves internally, and it just makes no sense to me. Anyway, flicking across some really major news. Reddit is integrating with FTX, allowing users to pay gas fees for the platform's token using fiat. Now, this is some seriously major news, and again, drives forward that cryptocurrency adoption. Of course, Reddit is sort of old school social media forum / thread-based platform in which obviously users can join subreddits and then post different threads which you can interact on. And then of course, one of the benefits of Reddit is that is then archived on the internet for future people to read and peruse, which is great for sort of informational threads, as well as sort of protecting the comments of those users into them for those discussions. Really quite a powerful tool that we don't see much of anymore. Has quite a large user base and has done so for a long time, and has continued to expand. So the ability for people to be able to pay gas fees for the platform's token using fiat is a really big deal. Not only that, we've seen the move towards other types of payments on Reddit in the past, or the recent past, in the form of power-ups or whatever they are, where people can give sort of credits to people's posts. We may see that integrate with crypto as well. This basically gives large use cases to cryptocurrency. So we can see the front page of the internet enlisted FTX and Arbitrum to launch its tokens on the Ethereum mainnet. In the latest instance of FTX embarking on a massive bear market buying spree, the crypto exchange has struck a deal with Reddit. The crypto to fiat exchange platform FTX Pay is integrating with Reddit and Arbitrum to allow users to pay gas fees on Reddit's community points tokens using fiat. Community points rolled out in 2020. That was what I was just talking about, and are blockchain-based Reddit tokens that allow users to divvy out rewards and interact with the social platform. Reddit is a choice platform for retail crypto investors, and the crypto was platform's most viewed topic in 2021. In July 2021, the roll-up solution Arbitrum won a contest to build an Ethereum roll-up for community points, and now the roll-up is launching on Ethereum's mainnet, the company said Tuesday. Users need Ethereum for gas fees to transact with their community points on chain, and FTX Pay allows them to do that. Now, of course, unfortunately, in its current state, Ethereum and gas fees are pretty ridiculous because it's still under proof of work. Hopefully, it becomes a more viable venture for sort of Reddit and FTX once proof of stake gets rolled out sometime in September, October, if it doesn't get delayed again on Ethereum. However, it would have been really nice to see one of the alternative layer ones in the space, like Hbar, which has natively low fixed fees for something like this. HEDERA definitely does have an advantage when it comes to micropayments due to that fee structure. Regardless, great for adoption. Breaking news again, the United States has just banned crypto mixer Tornado Cash. Terrible in my personal opinion. We can also see some memes down there straight away, me using a VPN. So of course it's being probably blocked at the domain name service level, stopping anyone with the United States IP address from accessing the service. Now, Tornado Cash is effectively a routing protocol which enables users to send transactions via sort of multiple different wallets, and it kind of mixes that all up to try and obfuscate the transaction history. So it's basically a privacy tool for those. We'll touch on some of those use cases in a minute. Unfortunately, it's one of these cases of where there are a few bad actors in the space. The giant ban hammer's come down and then removed the solution for all users because there are a few bad actors. We can already see some other projects across the space aligning with what the US government has stipulated with their ban. So we can see the Ethereum infrastructure project Infura is now blocking access to Tornado Cash. Infura is the default RPC provider of MetaMask and is the leading provider of key Ethereum infrastructure. Effectively, key Ethereum infrastructure is just blocking access to Tornado Cash already. And a lot of this is unfortunately going to continue to happen because a lot of these projects do not want to come under fire from the US government or the SEC in terms of basically going against the wishes of the country with this ban stipulation. What we can also see is unfortunately other services as well. Majority of these probably governed in the United States. GitHub has also suspended Tornado Cash's founder Roman Semenov's account. So obviously all of that code, the open source code for Tornado Cash is obviously being suspended from GitHub. And then completely legal until today, reasons to use Tornado Cash. This is why, or some reasons you would use it. And it's a very good list. As with any type of privacy tool, you get people come out and say, well, if you've got nothing to hide, then why should you be concerned? And it's because privacy is obviously almost to an extent, a kind of human right. If you look at it in that way, you wouldn't want cameras in your own personal bedroom. So using that argument is kind of a moot point. You get paid in crypto and you don't want your employer knowing all of your financial details. Good reason to use it. You pay for a service in Ethereum and don't want them to be able to see everything you've ever done on chain. Same goes for how much you've got in your wallet, for example. If you're paying for a service and you've agreed on a price and then they can see how much you've got in your wallet, potentially they might feel like they're on the bad side of a transaction, whereas in a traditional transaction, you'd have no idea how much sort of financial viability the other party has. You're worried that they might not let you join that super secret chat if they know your wealth came from aping into 𝗟𝗜𝗡𝗥𝗥𝗔𝗟𝗦. You've been doxxed and are being harassed online. Again, another major one. You want to donate to a polarizing cause. Again, another really valid reason to want to obfuscate your transactions. You want to anonymously gift me 1,000 Ethereum, or to anyone else, of course. You're bothered by the thought that everyone who knows your ad name or your online name knows more about your wealth than most of your close friends and family members. That was what I was alluding to a second ago. And you also think that crypto will achieve mainstream adoption, meaning everyone will have access to all of this information, retailers, banks, potential employers, and you question if they will use the information ethically. And again, this is a really valid point. Of course, blockchains and cryptocurrency are decentralized, and you can track pretty much any transaction from any wallet way back in, and it's due to that immutable nature of those chains. And the same can be said for things like HEDERA, of course, as well. You have to be fairly careful when it comes to things like this, particularly with doxing of information, etc. And services like this help to protect your privacy online. What's probably going to happen now in the future, though, is Tornado Cash will just become a Pirate Bay type of deal. Endless forks of the front end and spun up across IPFS, or the Interplanetary File System, as well as ENS, Ethereum Main Service. There probably will be no true way to stop it. And of course, this is a US level ban, but as we saw, many different companies are coming on board immediately to then ban related services, users and creators from accessing it as well. So quite a bad day in general for privacy within cryptocurrency, in my opinion. Some more positive news. Polygon has partnered with NEOWIZ to launch a blockchain gaming platform in 𝗟𝗓𝗡𝗥. So we can see on Tuesday, the Polygon team unveiled its tie-up with South Korea-based video game development and online publishing studio. So Polygon to launch a Web3 gaming platform in 𝗟𝗓𝗡𝗥. So again, this is great for further adoption of cryptocurrencies in the NFT, Web3 and gaming ecosystems, which really do seem to be taking off at the moment. So some bullish momentum there for the crypto space. Some HEDERA related news. Today is the final day of KBW 2022 in South Korea. Impact by KBW official. Make sure to stop by the booth for some free swag and to learn out more about HEDERA's rapidly growing permissionless ecosystem with some of the team. And obviously that's part of Korean Blockchain Week. Hello Future. So again, really nice to see HEDERA amping up that marketing and getting that exposure in different markets. We have seen South Korea have got a lot of use cases that they're working on behind the scenes, particularly for Hbar and HEDERA in general. Iran's use of cryptocurrencies and smart contracts will be widespread in foreign trade by September, Ministry for Industry. And I think this comes off the back of them recently processing a $10 million Bitcoin transaction for some foreign trade already. Some great adoption here happening at a country level. Again, relating to that first tweet I looked at from, or the quote from Mark Cuban, Google is down in certain regions, but Bitcoin is never down. So there's a 500 error on the servers. Again, this is comparing apples to oranges. It's not particularly relevant to cryptocurrency, and things like this do give the space a bad name when you're trying to compare a search engine to a gold sort of alternative asset or a cryptocurrency. Pretty crazy at the moment. What we're seeing at the moment, and obviously this may be because we're seeing more interest come back into cryptocurrencies across the board. It's becoming less of a risk-off environment. As the appetite starts increasing, we will see more and more of these retail traders and more weird posts like that across the board. So make sure you take everything you read with a pinch of salt and make sure you're doing your own research in the background as well. The Reserve Bank of Australia will begin to explore use cases for retail central bank digital currency, so RBA to explore CBDC use cases in Australia via a research pilot. The CBDC project will explore the viability of DLT tech via payment and settlement use cases for Australian households and businesses. Now this is quite big because obviously we've got EFTPOS as well, which is a sort of payment system over in Australia with the terminals, and of course those guys are already working alongside with HEDERA, or they've already got a use case sort of in the works with HEDERA. Some of that may trickle over and spill over into CBDCs for Australia. So HEDERA could potentially be in the running for this DLT tech they're looking to roll out for CBDCs. Of course, many times we've talked about MTech in the African regions, particularly with their CBDC use cases via the MTech sandbox, of course, all built on top of HEDERA. It's obviously complete speculation as it currently stands, but we may see some more good news here for HEDERA, and it would be very good news indeed. Bitcoin will likely transition to a risk-off asset by the end of 2022, and that's coming from Bloomberg's intelligence. Obviously, I've mentioned the words risk-off and risk-on assets previously. Risk-off relates to that very high risk, high volatility, but potential for high return that CZ was talking about, and obviously risk on, risk off is obviously the inverse of that, something like bonds or treasuries, which have very, very low returns, but they're fairly stable. They are low volatility and have low risk of everything going to zero. Now, it's interesting they're talking about a transition to risk off from risk off on. Mincing my words here, guys. That transition would then imply that it is becoming more of a hedge for what's going to be happening in the future, but also potentially that the gains for Bitcoin may begin to taper off and we won't see as much of a growth in Bitcoin in particular in the crypto space as we would have seen historically. Or the third option could be that they are then forecasting or predicting that this adoption phase is just going to continue and continue and continue, and Bitcoin's trajectory and market cap will continue to increase slowly over time with less volatility as more and more money enters the space, particularly through institutions and retailers. But regardless, it's looking more and more like a bullish thing for cryptocurrencies across the board rather than a negative one. Rounding up the video then on some more HEDERA related news, in particular SaucerSwap. Of course, if you guys haven't checked out my other videos on the decentralized exchange on HEDERA, the pioneering one, I've got 2 different videos talking about how to not only supply liquidity in one of them, the advantages, disadvantages, risks and rewards, impermanent loss, etc. That's a standalone video. And then I've got another video talking about how to swap tokens, token routing, and some commonly asked questions about the platform and kind of how it works, as well as how to take advantage of different things at the moment. Check those out, of course. Now, this tool is an Excel spreadsheet or Google Sheet produced by a Discord user called 𝗟𝗚𝗡, who's part of the SaucerSwap community. And it's a token priced history community edition in anticipation of the updated analytics tab that SaucerSwap are working on behind the scenes. So until then, this is like an intermediary solution for the community. Now, what it does is it aggregates the statistics for all of the different projects or tokens that are currently available on the SaucerSwap platform. So you've got Hbar, Source, Jam, Dovu. You can see them all on screen right now. And it's tracking the prices every single minute. It's got a minute polling rate and then aggregating those stats for the last hour's performance, 24 hours, and then all time for the particular data set as well. And we can see here what's happening at the moment. So we can see it at the moment, say Source has fallen 15% over the last hour, Hbar's fallen 5%, etc. Each of these graphs, all these different tabs along the bottom, has graphs of the last 24-hour performance for these different tokens. You can see at the moment, majority of tokens seem to be falling. Part of the reason is obviously going to be the fact that Hbar's falling. We can see a nice correction here to the HST token, which is obviously rebounding already. Majority of this will continue to rebound. See Source already rebounding. I am buying some more Source tokens. I think this project will do very well in the future, particularly if we compare it to other platforms like the Boo token on SpookySwap, which is on Phantom. That did incredibly well several months after launch, and I expect something similar to happen here on HEDERA. Of course, make sure you're doing your own research, and these assets are obviously very risky. You need to make sure you know what you're buying and holding. Rounding up the video then, talking about DeFi and the space. Obviously, the Hbar Foundation did put together a very nice thread of different informational videos about SaucerSwap, DEXs, and DeFi on HEDERA. Some of my videos were featured in there to talk about yield farming and swapping tokens. And then, of course, there are some other creators that you guys should check out as they have a slightly different perspective with different information, which is always really nice. You've got Bryce Scanlon here. Of course, you've got Matt himself. We've got Mason as well. And then we've also got Nick, who did some different videos, or Ncash Official, on SaucerSwap, as well as information about DeFi on HEDERA. Anyway, guys, hopefully you did enjoy this video. If you did, leave a like, drop a comment if you got something to say. I'll catch you in the next one. Cheers.